And welcome to another edition of everyone's favorite coaches show, the ETBU Sportsnet Coaches Show. I'm Kenneth the K-Rock Klein, and we're joined now by our head softball coach, Janae Shirley, where Shirley, she is serious. By the way, Coach, do you often get that joke a lot since your last name's Shirley?
No, not really.
Oh boy, that's pretty interesting to hear. But enough with the jokes. Let's get down to some serious business and all that. So last weekend you had a series against the University of Texas Dallas Comets, and obviously a conference series, it's always going to be a tough battle considering that a few years ago they won the conference tournament. But you came away with a sweep, pretty convincing fashion, of course. Just kind of talk about the whole series and what you were kind of expecting from your team going into that.
Well, we knew going into that series that we were going to have a challenge on our hands. UT Dallas has given us fits like the past couple of years. They have a good group of seniors that have just played really well throughout their career, and we knew they were going to challenge us and put runs on the board, and it was going to give us something kind of a different look. And so I was definitely pleased with how our team responded as a whole, both offensively, defensively, and on the mound. They just did a good job of, keeping the fast kids off the bases and giving us an opportunity to win.
Yeah, certainly. I've been impressed with the pitching, with how the matchup was, because obviously UT Dallas recently had a player that recently broke the NCAA Division III record for most stolen bases, and obviously that's why she had the highest batting average. But I was pretty impressed with watching the way that both Beatrice Latta and Presley Cox kind of held her down to a minimum in that series, but also with some of the at-bats as well.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely have a few kids, but, the one kid in particular is just a tough out. And, for us to keep her to, I think maybe one time on base, that's very impressive. They did a good job of, just not giving away opportunities there for her, for their team. And that's definitely what kept us in those games.
Definitely, Coach. And so we know how both your pitchers, Beatrice Latta and Presley Cox, have been pitching very well. But this week, they kind of made a big statement with their ability for their at-bats, hitting-wise. Beatrice Latta, of course, picking up her fourth weekly award, but this time it's as hitter of the week and not pitcher of the week as well. And Presley Cox, of course, getting her first 3 hits of the season. So you obviously have pitchers that can hit, Coach, but they've really stepped up in their ability to hit the ball the last series, and especially in yesterday's game.
Yeah, we've definitely been impressed with our whole entire pitching staff with just their athletic ability, and knew coming into this year that it was going to be a lot different than the past several years, just with how dynamic they are. Both Bea and Presley swing the bat well, and I think they showed us that in the fall games. In both of the games that they threw, they both hit home runs, and so we kind of knew going into the season that they were going to provide a little boost for us offensively, and Bea has steadily done that, and Presley has come along well, and she has really done a nice job when she's gotten opportunities to hit for us, so we've been pleased with them.
And of course, last night you had a game against Centenary. You won 5-0. You used both your starting pitchers. You started Bea. She went 2 innings, but then you brought in Presley Cox. She went and pitched 5 innings, struck out 10 batters as well. Probably her best outing of the season up to this point. So obviously a midweek game, and you have 2 strong starting pitchers and all that. Did you just kind of based on the strategy of how you were going to approach that?
Well, we had kind of gone back and forth on what we wanted to do in that game, and the intent the entire time was to kind of split that game. And early on, Bea's cleat was kind of messing with her foot and stuff, and so she kind of got to the point where it was just it wasn't worth a midweek game completely tearing up her foot to go there, and we knew we were going to go with Presley later on in the game anyway, and so the timing on that ended up being a little bit sooner than we expected. But both those kids, again, anytime they're on the mound, they give us a chance to win, and Presley did a great job of coming in. I know for them, both being starting pitchers, it's a little different mindset to come into a game as opposed to starting a game, and she did a great job of just picking up where Bea left off, and she threw the ball really well yesterday.
Now, of course, these past 4 games, we've also got to see some players who earlier in the year hadn't really gotten an opportunity to play, but in the last couple of games they've been thrusted into the lineup and have stepped up. Players like Coralie Carpenter or Chelsea Pierce, who had really good series against UT Dallas as well. So obviously from a player that sits on the bench and just waits for their time, and then when their time comes, they step up. Just talk about how both those two and especially with the rest of the substitutes and all that have really managed to embrace the role.
Well, this team is so interesting that we do have kids on the bench that can come in at any point and kind of pick up where the other kid has left off. And we've been in a situation to where we didn't have to really let a kid ride out a slump or not be a good matchup against somebody. We have somebody else that can come in, and we don't have a drop off. And we've been able to do that in a lot of positions. Losing Morgan Ars to an ACL tear was like a huge loss for us, and devastating for that kid. But again, we have people on the bench that have allowed us not to take a huge hit as a team because of that. And they've all stepped up in different positions. Corley coming in, getting an opportunity. She's done a great job at the plate as a freshman. And Chelsea was a really great high school player, and kind of sat out for a little while and has gotten back into it. And really, we knew her opportunity was coming, and she did a great job with that. And so it's really like opened the door for us to do multiple things and do different matchups. It's made our jobs as coaches a little bit more difficult because nobody's really doing bad, so it's kind of hard who to choose. And so there's been a lot of different kids at different games, and even in center field with Mariah and Nikki both doing a great job out there and doing great at the plate. It's just same thing with Caitlin and Cortland Hunter have both been swinging the bat pretty well, and again giving us opportunities down the road. So it's really provided us opportunities to get lots of people lots of at bats, and just be in a situation to where it's not a good matchup, we can kind of move forward with somebody else, and it helps our team out as a whole.
Certainly, Coach. And, this weekend you're back on the road with the series against Ozarks Eagles, of course, traveling up to Arkansas and all. But what are some of the finest things when you're going on a road trip, especially if it's like a 5-hour destination to a different state? So just kind of talk about, from a coach's perspective, when you go on these road trips, do you kind of take in all the sights or just the beauty of the countryside, or are you just more focused on just getting there and getting set up for the game?
I think it depends on the timing of it. Most of these, like going up there right now, initially the plan is for them to be able to go to class all day Thursday and practice and then get on the road. And so, we'll be traveling later in the day. In that case, we're just trying to get there and get the kids an opportunity to sleep well before our game. A lot of it just depends on the timing. If it's something where we aren't in a rush, we'll take our time and give them opportunities to see stuff and look around. A lot of these kids hadn't been up there before, so it's pretty up there, and hopefully they'll get a chance to be places they've never been before.
All right, Coach. Well, best of luck to you this weekend as you take on University of Ozarks. Doubleheader Friday and one on Saturday, so you won't want to miss out on that. And we'll have the results of the series and more on this YouTube channel. So stick around. We'll talk more softball with head coach Janae Shirley in the near future.